friends, and welcome to Hila at Home. Today's video, I thought it would be lovely to chat about accepting the changing seasons as I prepare our traditional back to school afternoon tea. We're currently experiencing the last real days of summer here in the north of England, well, at least according to the weatherman and the calendar. So it's not very warm, but I still like to think it's summer until the autumn equinox, which is in another 3 weeks for me. And I had kind of resentfully begun accepting that fall is coming, that summer is over, the warm weather is gone, and the rains will come. I decided that I was going to spend the last days of summer in the sun as much as I could, despite the fact that our English weather is very hesitant to give us sun. Early in the morning, the days are foggy or they're just cloudy or it's rainy, but once the sun shines through, I find my way outside in the sun. I've watched the birds eat from the almost empty bird feeders, and I watched the squirrels chase the birds out of the grass and away from the bird seed that was on the ground. And I've been enjoying watching the squirrels scurrying around with the conkers and the acorns that they are burying into the ground. Just whatever I could do to enjoy the days. Watching the seasons change from spring and summer to fall and winter is always a hard one for me. And much like the changing seasons in our own lives, the change comes slowly most of the time, but it happens before we know it, weirdly enough, and all of a sudden we realize that things are different. And as the weather changes, I'm reminded that I need to find beauty and grace in everything. Ecclesiastes captures this very beautifully when it says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace." Along with the changing seasons, there are also changes in my household, and I need to find beauty and grace in those changes as well. It isn't always easy, but it is necessary. And like many people, it can be easy for me to allow the negative things in my life to penetrate my heart and my mind. But as I've learned, as I've gotten older, is that I am in control of my own outlook in life. I can either sit around and mope about the changing seasons, the falling leaves, and the rain. I can whine and complain about being cold and wet. Or I can seek to find the good in the changing season. I can look at the colors of fall and find beauty in them. And I can use these experiences and challenges to grow in grace and patience, remembering that in order for the flowers and the trees to grow again, they must die or hibernate over the winter. The change from summer to autumn is always the most dynamic for me, and that's because summer is more relaxed. I notice the blue sky and the low hum of an airplane above. We live underneath the flight path, so that happens a lot. The thump of a hammer is audible in every nearby garden, and there's the ever so slight breeze. The air smells good and clean and fresh. For us here in the north of England, it doesn't get too hot, but it's warm enough so that no goosebumps appear on my body, at least as the breeze blows. And so it's lovely to be able to wear maxi dresses and strappy tops. And I'm so grateful when summer arrives, and the slower pace encourages me to suspend dramatic changes and just be. Fall, on the other hand, is such an obvious change season because there's a bold shift in the colors, in the temperatures, and in the light. The leaves which fall crunch and swirl around, and they seem to be constantly singing that there's change in the air. And I also sense internal shifts too when fall comes along, which sometimes can make me feel unsettled, but that's okay. It's always a good unsettled. And perhaps this is because the change is so visually apparent. And what I see makes me feel like I too need to change and make way for something different. There's a rumbling and a sense of being uncomfortable, of being stretched outside of your comfort zone. And this is not a bad thing because change is moving me, it's nudging me forward. The seasons teach us to embrace change, even when the change may not seem positive. Some people dislike fall because it means that winter is coming and it seems like a time when everything is dying. And hey, that used to be me a few years ago, but I've learned to love the seasons and to appreciate what they teach us. But nature embraces this slow time of temporary death in order to be reborn again in the spring and bring beauty and life to earth. Perhaps we can also learn to embrace the difficult seasons of changes in our own lives and begin to see how vital they are for our self growth. We can even learn something from the trees in the fall. As they let go of their leaves, we can also let go of regrets and all that is holding us back from new growth. Instead of staying stuck in the past, we can begin to let go as we look forward to new seasons in our lives. Just as nature does, we can learn to welcome change. And with that, thank you so much, friends, for joining us along in our afternoon tea. That's the vlog that I was sharing with you, and this little chat about changing seasons. Now it's your turn. Do let me know, do you struggle with the changing of the seasons? What's your favorite season, and how do you adjust to the new season? I'll see you in the comments, and until then, I wish you blue skies, health, and happiness. Bye.